a map of the current and planned data centers.
This is an Axios report that came out a few months ago. So this right here is showing the current and planned data centers.
Yeah,
so,
I did.
Currently operational, you can see a map and then under construction or planned.
All right, cool.
And so currently operational, you can see that if anything has any state has over 300 data centers, it's this really dark purple color. So Texas, California, and Virginia are the highest, like the most. Virginia, if you look at the size of the state compared to the number, 663 data centers, that's not good at all. But you can also see under construction or planned. And again, you can see there's 3 states here. So California, they've kind of backed off, but you can see here that we've got Texas. They're like going full steam ahead. Georgia also, and then again, Virginia is also just going full steam ahead. So what it says here, nearly 3,000 new data centers are under construction or planned across the U.S. per a new analysis shared first with Axios, adding to the more than 4,000 already in operation. So this is a big deal. So zooming, it says Georgia and Pennsylvania are among the states due for particularly big data center booms if all goes to plan. Okay, so you can see that this is.
So I don't know exactly why we are going to need 7,000 data centers. That doesn't make sense to me.
What's wrong with the current workload? What are we going to be doing in the future that we can't do now that necessitates us building these monstrosities?
I don't know. And, you know, the ones that I've been looking at in this general vicinity there's over 5,000 people working at one data center to get getting it put in. And that's just like the construction crew. And they're going to work for, I think, 3 months, maybe 4. And they're going to be moving to another location. Why? These are like 6 square miles. Why do we need a data center that's like 6 square miles? That doesn't make any sense. I know that China has a large jump on us with their AI, but they also are using their AI to control their citizens. They have those cameras everywhere. They have face recognition. They have body recognition. They're tracking all of their people. And I think that's, we have the flock cameras going in. By the way, there's a lot of gold and copper in the flock cameras, if you didn't know. So I don't know why we're seeing this jump in data centers. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but let's kind of get back here for a second.
Up right here, you can see you have this little sidebar here, and you can toggle on. You can see, like, for instance, where are there solar fields in America? Where are there wind generating fields? So this is actually, you can even map out the entire power grid. You can look at the power transmission lines. It's really cool. But what you can do, which is what I've done, is you can just select data centers. So this right here is showing you, like, if you're curious in your state or your region, where are the data centers at? You can zoom in. So I grew up in Ohio. I grew up just outside of Columbus, Ohio. Ohio has gotten a lot of attention because of their data centers. Like, I got a video to play on one of the data centers at the New Albany. And so specifically right here, this is New Albany area, which I grew up. So I grew up over in this little area called Plain City, which is on the other side of Columbus. But New Albany has massive area. Who owns them? You can get more details on them. And so again, the website is OpenGridWorks.com. So OpenGridWorks.com will take you where you can view on this.
So that's something that, everybody might want to take a look at, the OpenGridWorks.com. Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to me that we're spending all this money. Is this the new .com bubble? And I've seen articles from financial guys talking about these data centers are working on speculation. They're getting their money based on spec because they think they're going to be able to sell time on their mainframes or their whatever they are, their clusters, for other companies, and they'll be able to recoup their money. But if they don't have the hardware, I mean, they can put in all these buildings, but if they don't have the hardware to actually support it, why go to all the trouble? Why are you spending all this money on a building you can't do anything with? Maybe you're going to put beds in it. Maybe it's an internment camp. I don't know.
No, I've heard that before. the amount of money that goes into making these facilities, I imagine you could build a detention camp for far cheaper. You
Yeah.
don't need supercomputers unless they're, unless they're literally building the Matrix, and that's, they're going to turn our brains into the
Well,
computer. I don't know. Beyond that, it just that doesn't really.
the reason
work
that
for me.
Texas has a lot of data centers going in, especially in West Texas, there are a lot of they put in a lot of windmills. There are windmill farms all across West Texas and even Central Texas. And I don't know if East Texas has a lot, but I know they have a few. They are going to be putting in small nuclear generators because these things are going to take up 6 to 9 gigawatts of power at a time, and
Which is basically an entire city.
yeah, they could do a large city for that amount of power, and they're going to have their own power. They're going to have their own water. And I saw a video about, I don't remember exactly where it was. I think it was in Utah, where they'd put one in and they actually had tapped into the local water system, had already drained their water system because they didn't know. They didn't know they were using the water. The data center knew, but the community didn't know that they were using their water, and now they don't have any. So what's going to happen?
This is so backwards, man. No one's bothering to check to see if the infrastructure exists to support these things before they even go
and
through, or
Texas
what effect that's going to have on the locals.
Texas already has a problem with their electric grid. So, if we put that much more strain on it, what's going to happen? We're not going to have any power.
This is the South. We're not exactly known for our lush tropical climate and tons of rainfall and water. I mean, this is the Dust Bowl. You don't do this. This is so fucking asinine, man. And for what? What is the stated end goal for this stuff? I mean, it's seriously. What is it actually going to be used for? I mean, if you're going to try to sell me the utopian vision, at least try to sell me the utopian vision. What is it? What is it? What are we doing with these things?
It depends on who you talk to.
Are we trying to find the last number in pi?
It depends on who you talk to, and there are some that are saying, well, there's all this stuff that we're going to be able to do with medical research, and that's true. They're actually being able to do some research, but that's not the general emphasis of what they're doing. I think it's going to be either, and the topic came up in some financial channels recently that maybe they're going to be doing crypto mining. They're setting up crypto mining centers so they can start doing their own crypto mining. I will see. I don't know.
No. You know what they're going to use it for? They're going to use it for this. That's what they're going to use it for.
Probably. I don't know, man. It's very strange. He goes on and talks a little bit more about the different locations and the hyperscale. This is 40,000 acres or 62 square miles backed by Canada millionaire Kevin O'Leary. That's the one that's in Utah. And they've already said they don't want it in Utah. 62 square miles. What in the... Look. That's just insane.
I got one to play after this.
This is the rough...
Okay. It's just insane, man. There's just no way. Oh, and this is what it sounds like.
Every time you were outside, whether you were barbecuing, having a campfire, camping in your backyard, gardening, whatever it is, imagine if this is what you heard, okay? So this is the noise at 1 a.m.
All the time. And there's another video. I don't think he shows it, but there's another video where they're cranking it up in the morning. And whatever their diesel motors that they're running at that particular location, look at the smoke coming out of this one.
Atmosphere. Here's the hard truth. Global warming thing, right? This is their excuse of why they're spraying chemicals in the sky. Oh, global warming. It's for global warming.
They're raising the
these
temperature.
Data centers are cooking the atmosphere. Here's the hard truth.
3 to 6 degrees within, I don't know, it's like 10 miles And if you have multiple ones in the area, that's going to raise it more. We're having a problem already. They say we're global warming. Okay, what happened to global warming now? So now we're going to cook under these
It's
data centers.
convenient, isn't it? Now we create the global warming that we can blame everybody else for their diesel engines for.
Oh,
This is why you
can't have
can't have.
cows.
Yeah, but this is why we can't have cows and burping and farting. So we got to do away with your meat, and you have to eat the bugs because we're cooking the atmosphere with these data centers that are surveilling the shit out of you.
They're creating the genetic engineering, so we're allergic to red meat. You've heard that one, right? There's a guy. He looks like a Chinese guy that's talking at the World Economic Forum, and he actually goes through how they set up this, and it's a mRNA, whatever. It's like a vaccine that they've done some kind of genetic engineering to change your biological system to reject red meat. Why? This is insane.
No, gals, is what you're talking about, the tick spread virus. We talked about that a couple different times, but
yeah, they're using the ticks as an agent to get them out there. And I saw a video earlier. A guy was showing a box that had been dropped on his property, and all these ticks were coming out of it. And it's like, why? It's crazy. It's insane. The world has gone totally nutso. Don't know, man. I don't know.
All right. Well, I got one to follow up on that. This is an older one from TrueStream. They're just in a competition at this point. The billionaires are in competition with one another to see who's got the biggest data center.
Yeah.
And yeah, we all just get to be casualties fiscally at first, anyways, in this billionaire warfare over what? Who's going to make AGI? Who's going to make the best surveillance state?
Minority Report incoming. Larry Ellison has already said in multiple interviews, if you're being watched, you're more likely not to commit a crime. People are on their best behavior when they know they're being watched.
Yeah, and we're going to watch. Well, he tried to mollify the public initially by saying, well, the police will be on their best behavior because they're constantly being watched. That is already supposed to be the case, and they're not following that protocol now. So what makes you think adding artificial intelligence to the mix is going to make that system any better? This is like saying that when I hear Mark Levin say we need to add more amendments to the Constitution and that will somehow fix things. They're not respecting the articles that are already in there right now. What good would additions do?
Yeah.
No, and maybe it'll make the police more accountable, but I'm not comfortable with the other side of this equation that they're not discussing, that they're not adhering to public discourse right now. They're not listening to us right now. Before the surveillance state clamps around all of our balls.
They are listening to us right now. That's the problem. They're listening to us in every car, every phone, every device in our house.
But we've talked about this a number of times, man. There's a limiting factor when it comes to the intelligence community folks and manpower. Manpower is always the limiting factor when it comes to sifting through this stuff. You need bodies in front of screens going through data.
That's why they have AI.
Up until machine learning. And this stuff, like, we've had precursors to this even as far back as like the 80s.
Yeah.
They had, fingerprint matching and facial recognition stuff.
Which was not even close to being good. The fingerprints, people were put in prison, and it turned out that their systems were not infallible. They actually were very fallible. And we have that with all different kinds of tests that DNA tests and We're talking about the bullet tests that they apparently are going to try to do on the bullet fragments. The FBI actually stopped using that 25 years ago, 20 years ago, because it was a fallible test. It's one that doesn't work. So yeah, it's just crazy. I don't get it. But we have no say in anything. They're going to do what they're going to do, and you just got to be happy with what's happening. We've already been told that in no uncertain terms, and it's being pushed down our throats every single day. So I don't know. I'm getting very, very upset and very scared the way the world's going. This is not the world I grew up in. This is not headed the right direction. We're going to see a major catastrophe. So it's Lake Corpus Christi, which is actually down near the coast. um, there's a decision. They did something in 2025 just before the system began to decline. Right now, they're spending over 400 million on emergency solutions, but they can only cover about 20% of demand. All the main water supplies drop below 10%. And this is not just a local issue. That's going on all over the place. Falcon Lake in South Texas is at 20%. It's a water supply for 500,000 people along the border. Different lakes are, they're running 10 to 20 to 30% of what they normally run. The Colorado River has dried up. The Mississippi River is lowering its banks. They're finding things that they never knew that existed because it's been underwater, and now it's not. And we're going to be in a real world here of not being able to wash our clothes, take a shower, flush a toilet. There's so many different things that we're going to have to learn how to deal with not having water, and they're going to give it away.
And then standing room only inside the huge exhibit hall.
And he's building it in Utah, and he's getting upset that people are getting upset about it.
I'm actually the only developer of data centers on Earth that graduated from environmental studies.
He's making videos now about claiming that they're busing people into Utah.
But there are professional protesters that are paid by somebody, I don't know who,
to attend these county commission meetings, which were pretty much very last minute.
We think over 90% of the protesters are actually not people that live in Utah or Box Elder County. They're being bussed in.
But I don't think that's what happened anyway. I've seen a lot of people from Utah.
I've seen enough of these protests and the crowds on demand folks to kind of have a natural sense for this. Do these look like paid protesters to you, Logic?
No, they do not. They look like angry citizens. They look like people that really have a problem with what's going on.
Yeah. Legitimately angry. I don't know how this is going to work. YouTube gets pissy when I try to zoom in.
I don't know if this is the same one, but one they were doing, and the county commissioners made them go outside, and they actually continued their meeting inside using cameras, and people had to watch it on TV monitors like outside, and they were really mad about the situation that was going on. So yeah, it's a bad situation. It's a bad
about claiming that they're busing people into Utah.
But there are professional protesters that are paid by somebody, I don't know who,
to attend these county commission meetings, which were pretty much very last minute.
We think over 90% of the protesters are actually not people that live in Utah or Box Elder County. They're being bussed in.
But I don't think that's what happened anyway. I've seen a lot of people from Utah really angry about this.
I'm Caroline Gleick. I live in Utah. I ski Utah's mountains. I drink Utah's water. I breathe Utah's air. I ran for U.S. Senate here. My husband, Rob, and his family are from here. My family's lived here for over 2 decades. The hundreds of Box Elder County residents who showed up to that meeting, they live there. They farm there. They raise their kids there. The only person in this story flying in from out of state is Kevin O'Leary.
Even if
Sick burn.
that pretty much says it all right there, doesn't it?
They were busted. Dude, you're Canadian.
People live in Utah aren't stupid. They see this happening and they realize, why am I letting people from don't even live in my state make decisions for me?
You're not even from America at all. So why are you talking about other people are coming in trying to tell Utah how they're going to live when that's exactly what you are doing?
Kind of hypocritical.
But like, I'm from Texas. I will gladly drive to Utah just to protest you because that's called being an American. That's called the First Amendment. We have a right to protest here. We have a right to protest whatever the hell we want. You don't have to like it. It does not have to make any sense to you. But that's a right we have. It's enshrined in this country. So if I wanted to drive there from Texas just so I can protest your ass, that's my right as an American to do.
Well, we have that right as of right now. Tomorrow, who knows?
Yeah, I actually, when I hear stuff like this, my first inclination is to listen and believe when someone says paid protesters, because that has been pretty much normalized over the last decade. We have seen a lot of paid protesters.
Yeah, we have. And we
The
know
ICE
they were.
protests that happened nationwide after the Trump administration made its half-assed attempt to actually follow through with its campaign promises. You know, the ones that this guy's been promising since 2016 and has failed to actually do anything with. Lots of that stuff was paid, I would argue. Normal people have to work. Normal people have to pay bills. Don't generally have days upon days upon days to go around looting and pillaging and setting things on fire and getting into altercations with police officers and other local law enforcement. So I'm inclined to at least entertain the idea that there's paid protesters, but that doesn't look like it's it. Sorry. It don't. What a convenient backdrop, a convenient excuse to say, well, this is paid protest, because now that's been normalized. They need to fucking outlaw this practice, man.
Well, but the same thing with lobbying. You know, we ought to know who's lobbying for certain things. We ought to know who's getting money from these lobbies. So we know who's voting which direction. We don't at this point know who's making those votes and how they're voting. We can get a list after the fact, but a lot of people are not paying attention to what their representatives in the Congress and the Senate are doing. You know, they just don't have a clue.
Well, if this many people turned out angrily protesting, peacefully protesting, what does the vote look like for this? Was there a vote? Not heard of it, but
no, they didn't get a vote.
You don't have to like it. I don't give a fuck. And the county commissioners in this Utah, they're acting like they weren't, voted into their positions and are supposed to be representing people either. They sat up on a stage and told people to grow the hell up.
For hell's sakes, grow up.
Just did whatever they wanted, even though everyone was obviously really pissed.
Thank you.
And one of them decided to go do a podcast or something. And he's crying because people are outside of his house protesting him. And that's not the American way.
I personally am extremely frustrated. I didn't take this role on. I didn't get in the legislature. I certainly didn't get in the commission to do things to hurt people. That's never been my character. My whole personality is to do what's right by the people, if at all possible. And all I was trying to do is follow the law, follow what it tells me I'm supposed to do. I listen to attorneys, I listen to experts to say, this is really where you should go. This is what you should do because this is within the law. And I've done it. And now I'm being personally attacked. I'm being accused of taking bribes and all kinds of things that are just not true. They're just lies.
okay, well, maybe they're not true, but to all these people onlooking as this disaster unfolds, regardless of their vehement and quite loud input telling you to stop this nonsense, and you still go through with it anyway, maybe you could understand why the locals feel like you're the bad guy in this instance and might feel inclined to voice their opinion. You're an elected representative. Everybody on that stage is an elected representative. and you're chuckling about something, and maybe it's not something related to what's going on, but that's going to be the public perception, and it's not a good one.
It's optics, and the optics look really bad. That's the situation, though, because we've seen what has been happening at a federal level. We're getting all this information coming out of all these individuals that are laundering money, and they're taking kickbacks, and they're doing insider trading, and this filters down into this gentleman's life. I'm sorry you're having a problem, but you are in the public eye. You are a federal or a state official or a county official. You've put yourself in the public. You're going to make a decision about everybody else's lives in that community. You better stand up for what they're going to say to you. Sorry, that's just the way it is.
I think, do you know how in law enforcement and the military, like every once in a while or at a timed interval, I don't know what it is, the FBI will have you do a polygraph. Like you have to re-up on your polygraph to be able to continuously hold your security clearance.
Yeah.
And if you fail that polygraph, your security clearance gets revoked and you don't get to stay in your position after that.
Right. And
they also do other kinds of background checks on you at a consistent basis too. At regular intervals, I don't know what it is, monthly, biannually, bi-yearly, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, you are audited when you are in these positions. Now, we could argue about the effectiveness of that. How,
yeah.
Gee, they sure missed a few with Kash Patel and James Comey and a few other guys that went on to do stuff they probably shouldn't have done. But there's a system in place, and that system is in place for a reason, and it's so that we don't get people in positions of authority who are not leveraged, or don't have the possibility of becoming leveraged upon when they are in that position. A very crucial, integral part of law enforcement and intelligence. You don't want somebody who can be blackmailed, extorted, whatever, in those positions. And so you take preemptive measures to make sure that doesn't happen, because if it does, the damage from it can be catastrophic, both at a local level and to national security. We're talking actual national security, not the George W. Bush version, which could literally mean anything. Now, the same thing, I would argue, goes for these local elected politicians. I think they should have to take polygraphs. I think they should have to be financially audited on a regular basis to see where, when you get chuckleheads like this guy, who is in an elected office, probably should be for unelected offices too, maybe extra so for those. What is the motivation? Can you imagine? Can you thunkenstrate what might be motivate? What might be motivating somebody like this to go against the will of the people? Maybe they need to have some third-party auditors go into this guy's financials and find out what his stock portfolio looks like. And find out that if he's had his palms greased by any of the involved parties or by third-party handlers that are involved with said corporations that are setting this technology up in the first place. Because I smell a rat. And this is probably going on at a national level too. And this shit needs to fucking end. This pisses me off so fucking bad, man.
I know. But it's happening everywhere. And it's federal, state, local. It doesn't matter. They're all doing something. I don't know if they're being blackmailed. I don't know. Their life is in danger. You could say that's a kind of blackmail, but they're taking money. If they're being pressured by someone in any way, something's not right. There's too much going on all across the country. And we're just sitting here looking at it going, oh, okay.
Just look at this guy's face. He looks aggrieved upon. He can't believe what's going on. Well, this is just the game, right? I mean, everybody plays the game like this. I can't believe I'm being held to account for something that everybody else is doing. Because I know everybody else is doing it, because I look around and everybody else is doing it. And I'm doing it too. And I can't believe I'm being held to account for it. I can't believe people are complaining about it.
Well, that's the problem, because we've not held anybody accountable for anything. We've talked about arrests for how many years, and how many arrests have we made?
This is the perception of the public, that this shit is going on. We all kind of suspect that this shit is going on. And the more we get this kind of reaction from our elected officials, the greater that perception grows until you hit problem territory.
I literally have police officers in front of my house, and that's not fair to me, but it's especially not fair to my family, and it's not fair to either of the other two commissioners either. And I have county employees that are nervous about their safety as well, and that is not the American way, certainly not the way of people in Utah, and I know it's not the way Box Elder County residents should be behaving. And I don't.
What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Who is threatening you? If that's the case, then yes, call the cops. But who's actually doing that? These are just people voicing their concerns, and they're getting angry because it seems like you're ignoring them. And not just you. There's other gentlemen on the stage there too, and maybe ladies. I don't know who else was there who was involved in the decision-making process. But this went through, and it's apparent that the people there didn't want it to happen. Now, if you believe that crowds on demand were there, and that those weren't actually Box Elder County representative people there voicing their concerns, then maybe you need to have the local authorities or some third-party investigative team look into that, so that can be debunked. Because it looks like you have a mismatch between what the county citizens want and what actually happened. That means there's some public grievances that need to be addressed. And if the answer to those grievances, look, we have to go through with this, we already signed the contract, or we're going to have to pay all these penalties and fees, then you're going to have to collectively get your shit together and figure that out as a community, as a city. You're in a public office. Your job is meant to be difficult. You were elected to get into that office because people believed at the time, if the election process you believe is something that's working, those people believe that you possess the ability to fulfill that role. If you are unable to fulfill that role, then you need to resign. This ain't rocket surgery. Not everybody deserves to be in public office. It is a very hard thing to do. That's why I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
It's like the military. Not everybody's cut out to be in the military or be a police officer or be a doctor or be a firefighter. These are dangerous, hard jobs. In your case, yours is a job of the mind and requires somebody of sound mental constitution and the ability to make hard decisions based on incoming facts and changing circumstances. You need to have your finger on the pulse of what your citizens want. And you need to at least give the appearance that you give a shit what that opinion is.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of these politicians in any office right now that do not care about their constituents. They have no regard. Once they get in office, they're done with dealing with people. I saw a post earlier today, and I actually responded to it, but I had to delete it because I just knew it was going to cause too much problem. There was a representative in the House of Representatives saying, "You've got to understand, we're hardly making 200,000 a year, and we're working 140 days already, and we need to get more money." What? You're making 200,000 a year, and you've only worked 140 days? You showed up 140 days. You hadn't done the work, I guarantee you. I know a lot of people that would show up 140 days to get $200,000. Hello.
Sign me up for that job, man. $200,000 and wow.
And that's just not enough money. We got to have more money. Where's it going to come from, dude? And for what? You're not doing anything. Y'all are all arguing and not signing any bills. You're not getting anything passed. I don't understand how government can be so broken. I have to mention Marco Rubio was talking about Cuba, and I would like to find that particular interview, but he's saying the system's broken, and as long as those people that are there are staying in power, it's not going to change. Hello? It says, what are you talking about? It's the same thing. This is crazy.
Yeah. Vote for me. I'll change it. Vote for me. They'd have to drag me out of that office by my heels, dude.
Yeah. I don't understand how
they can't get a real motherfucker in there that would actually change things up.
Well, no, they get them in, but they're voting them out. They're spending all this money to vote them out. They're I don't know, man.
And I thought Trump was going to be that guy initially. He definitely said all the right things, especially back in 2015.
Yeah, he said he was going to, and now look where we are.
You know, the sad fact of the matter is you need somebody like that, actually, like the guy that's saying those things and actually thinking those and then gets in the office and does those things. But you need that in the Senate, the Congress, and the local and state levels too.
Well, and the other problem we have is those career politicians that get in and they've stayed for 60, 70 years. Those people are so senile, they don't have a clue what they're doing. They're still going and they're still, causing problems. They're not allowing things to happen like they should happen. They just want to argue their point and has nothing to do with the actual issue. They want to be right. And then nothing gets done. And we can't be like this. We used to be a superpower. We are a laughing stock around the world.
But to know that people are coming to protest and picket in front of our homes just makes me sick.
Bitch, that's exactly the American way. That is absolutely 100% the American way. Coming to your house and protesting you because you were elected to do a job you're not doing is 100,000% the American way. And actually, I will just let you know, you are lucky that is all they're doing. You're lucky that protesting and holding up signs is all they're doing because we're in the 21st century and people are trying to be civil about this right now. But if this was 250 years ago and you were in a town called Boston, they would come into your house, they would take every stitch of your belongings and put it out on the lawn, and then they would burn your house down while you watch. So I'm just saying, having them protest outside of your house is actually the better option. And you should be lucky that's all they're doing right now, because the American way gets pretty dark if you really want to start talking about what that is. Kevin O'Leary's over here making, you know what, dude? If you had just stayed with your billions of dollars buying watches to cry over.
Only one in the world.
Kevin O'Leary's tearing up after receiving his one-of-one custom-made AP. That is the Piece Unique AP Real Oak
fuck
Open
this guy
Nobody
all
would
the
have cared.
way, man.
Nobody would have given a shit about.
Fuck this guy all the way. I really liked his take on the China situation. Remember, this was probably like 8 episodes ago. We covered his rant on, I don't know if he was on CNN or MSNBC or something, but he was talking about the trade deficit with China and how it's been a problem for a long time. And the more I hear from this guy, the more I think that's probably the one and only thing I've ever agreed with this man on. Because he said we needed to basically to embargo China. And we do.
And we do.
And unfortunately, I guess the guy's batshit crazy on every other topic. And all about self-enrichment. And the only reason I gathered after the fact, the only reason why he had that opinion in the first place is because he personally was burned by China on multiple business deals.
I'm sure.
So for him, it's not really an ethics or a concern about American prosperity. It's about personal beef that he has with the nation of China.
Well, it's cutting into his profits.
And we can't have that. So yet another billionaire war against another billionaire, or a state in this case. Can we just get the cyber part of the cyberpunk dystopia at least?
Where are our flying cars, dude?
Listening.
About you and your billions of dollars in your watches, no one would have cared. But when you do something that affects everybody else's daily life and existence on this planet, shocker, they care. It's just, we're not being told the truth about what's really going on here, and that's abundantly clear. You can't build something that's 62 square miles and uses 9 gigawatts of power, which is more than double the entire state of Utah, and then be like, it's just for some chatbots. It's just for some generative AI. We're just going to have a few robots that no one can afford.
Folks at Utah's Military Installation Development Authority, or MIDA, say this all started when they were approached by the Undersecretary of the Air Force, saying that there was a need, especially after an executive order calling for these hyperscale data centers signed by President Trump.
If an honest conversation was even remotely being had about what's actually going on here, people wouldn't be responding this way.
And why won't they let people talk? Why won't they let people ask questions? It's false. This is not real information. And we sit here like it's okay. It's a charade.
But since you guys have chosen to obfuscate and lie and tap dance around the truth about what's actually all of this really is for and what's really happening here, this is the reaction you're getting, and you're acting surprised.
And after multiple interruptions, they decided to move into a smaller room and then broadcast it out to Zoom, which, of course...
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, and I didn't know if this was the right one or not, but that's what they did. They took their meeting into another room and they put it out for them to see it on Zoom, where nobody could interfere with what the proceedings were going on in their county commissioner meeting. These people had to sit there and watch the crap that was going on in the next room.
The Operation Mockingbird Senate hearing. Do you remember this?
Yeah, kind of.
And they said, every time the question came up about whether or not the CIA was currently engaged in manipulating domestic news, they'd said, they would respond with, this is the kind of question that we need to cover in the closed session.
Yeah.
And they just kept doing that over and over again under the veil of national security. And that was before the Patriot Act. That was before NDAA. That was before 9/11. That was before the first attempt on the World Trade Center. And now these local stooges are going to go into the broom closet and discuss the future of their community without them, without their input, because they don't want to hear it. And they felt intimidated for some reason.
Yeah, I can't fathom how, if your community has come together to speak on a particular subject, and there are a lot of people that came to that particular meeting to speak on that particular topic, and then you're going to not allow them to speak their mind. You're going to have a closed meeting so they can't talk about what's going on with their community. That's a problem. I don't get it. This is not America anymore. I don't know what it is. Utopia.
We are far from it, brother. I've been watching the decline of this nation ever since I started paying attention to politics, and I felt, like I was constantly being gaslit by the world around me, that things were not as bad as they otherwise appeared to be. And it's just continued to get worse. And now it seems like everybody else is catching up to where I've been at for a decade. We followed the trajectory that I thought we were going to follow, pounding the money into the dirt. Everybody that's not a millionaire is going to be living hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck. And the consolidation of power is just on full naked display now. What other purpose for these data centers are there? Are we going to cure cancer with them? I don't see it. How will they charge us for treatments then? Everything is an extraction model. Everything has been turned into, every modern innovation within the last 10 years has pretty much just been, it's something else that we can pay a subscription for. It's something else that we can get entered into some kind of a payment program for. You want to talk about an industry that just keeps innovating. Financial technology. The biggest scam of them all, cryptocurrency. And people don't see this thing coming. And it is coming. Because they're not going to have a choice. And they've basically engineered our life, our entire country, our economic model to implode at some point. So that we have to look for an alternative solution. And that groundwork, the foundation has already been poured, and it's crypto.
Of course, upset a lot of people.
This whole thing has been done in this way for this outcome to be the case. So, I don't understand how anyone's even shocked.
It's a really, really bad deal. We don't get anything for it other than we're losing land, we're losing water, and we're losing air quality.
But you can't just have a system that doesn't listen to people. You expect everybody to live in this society and abide by this society, but you're just going to order everybody around, tell everybody what to do, and expect everyone to just fall in line and quietly do it? I don't know if you know where you are. This is America. If you continue to push people and needle them and nudge them and force them into this situation, you're going to get what you get, and it's not going to be pretty, and you're going to be having to do a lot more than cry on a podcast, okay? You're going to have to do a lot more than cry on a podcast about it, because it's going to be pretty fucking bad. People who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. I didn't make up the quote. That's just how it is.
I would like to solve the puzzle.
Yeah, unfortunately,
boy,
there's a lot of that sentiment going around. That's the case. They're pushing people against a corner. They're getting the animal to come out in people. And maybe that's the reason they're doing it. I don't know. Can you pull this one up? I think this is really important. Things in your reality may be more crazy than they appear. And I think
I like it.
I think that's absolutely true. But at this point, that's our reality. We're seeing those pink flamingos and the octopus coming out of the window, and it's just everything is so crazy. But it's so much more crazy than what we really see. I know, they hide a lot of stuff. They've been hiding things since 1963, maybe before that. But, and that I'm still trying to get the actual word on this, but apparently the files that the ODNI actually took, Tulsi Gabbard took from CIA about JFK and MLK and RFK, and CIA went and took them back because they said it was a national security. They're playing that same game that they always do. They're hiding something. I don't know what it is. There's a lot of rumor. Things are going to get really ugly if it's the truth.
I mean, if they've been holding on to this shit for that long, we can pretty much just assume it's the worst things that we've concocted over the years. That's the truth. If they're still sitting on this stuff all these years later, I think we can safely assume that it was our own government that did it. And they feel free to prove us wrong, intelligence community, at any time, release the actual documents unredacted, and shut all the conspiracy theorists up. Because no one fucking believes you anymore. No one believes the federal government anymore.
Well,
that the official narrative was true. That we got the truth on Martin Luther King Jr. JFK, all of his family members that mysteriously got blowed up shortly after that. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. You know, it's almost like that you were trying to root the entire family out.
Well, not all of them, because we still have a couple
Or
of them
tried to, anyways.
in government. But
kind of makes you wonder what other things in recent history might not have been truthfully reported to the public.
well, there are a lot of things that are coming out. You know, they said contrails are not real, but now we're having that come out, and it's absolutely true. You know, they've actually pulled up all kinds of information about it, and it's something that they've been doing for a long time, and they've hidden it from us. They've told us that's not true. It's not true. You're having delusions. It's a conspiracy theory. No, it's not. It's a conspiracy theory because you made it a conspiracy theory. You muddied the waters to begin with on purpose. You coined the term conspiracy theory in JFK because you wanted people to think there was a problem with the way people were thinking. That was not true. Now we're conspiracy analysts. We stole that name from you. You have your agents called analysts. We can be analysts as well. We're conspiracy analysts. All we do is analyze the narrative that you're feeding us and look for the flaws in your narrative. And guess what? We're finding them.
I'm just using logic and reason
Logic
to
fails.
parse through the stuff, say what makes sense, what doesn't make sense to me personally. And I could be incorrect. We could be incorrect. But the trouble is, we're not the only people thinking these thoughts or asking these questions. And the din and the racket is getting louder and louder and louder.
You can't ask questions.
It's too late for that, man. The question's done been asked. And now we're just awaiting the answer that will likely never arrive.
It never really dawned on me. You know, we talked about crossing the Rubicon. Do you know what that comes from? Do you know what the Rubicon is?
Wasn't a river in Egypt or something like that? I forget.
It was a river. I believe it was, yeah, it may be in Egypt. It was in, Caesar crossed the Rubicon. And once he went in, there was no going back. The cast was die. That's what he said when he crossed the Rubicon. The cast has been die. The die has been cast. Sorry, and that's where we are. We've crossed the Rubicon. There's no going back. There's no way we're going back to the way we were. You've done it. You've broken it. You've lost our trust. What happens next?
In space travel, there is a phrase called the point of no return. And that is the point at which it is impossible to return, to mount a return vector the same way that you came. You have to continue on or mission failure. In this case, it's collapse of the nation. All I can think of is whatever gamble they're doing with these data centers, if that doesn't work out, and this is the terrible part of all of this, because of the now trillions of dollars that are being dumped into these things, if whatever they're doing doesn't work, that's going to initiate a collapse too. So now, because of the way these things have been set up financially, we're all on the hook whether these things succeed or fail. So we're being set up, Logic. We're being set up for another GFC event where inevitably, at least some of these data centers, the corporations backing them, are going to fold. And when that happens, guess what the government's going to do? Guess. Can you guess?
At this point, I can't even.
They're going to bail them out. with our money, because
I
it was
don't-
our money in the first place that made these endeavors possible.
I don't want to hear
They're
that.
not paying public rates. They're not paying what Jane and Joe America is paying for their water and electric bill. That shit's getting subsidized. So if they can't even pay the fucking utility bills on their own plants, what makes you think they're going to be able to pay for anything if their business folds in on itself? And how leveraged are these places? This fucking 86-mile, however big this facility in Utah they're trying to build.
62 miles. 62 square miles.
How leveraged do you think that endeavor is?
Well, I'm sure it's in the trillions of dollars, because that's not cheap. Just the building alone, that would be astronomical. How could you can't even cool something like that. I mean, you're gonna have humongous cooling water jets to keep. And where's this water going to come from? We don't have water. What? I don't get it. This picture, I had to create this one because I wanted people to understand this may be part of the issue. We don't know.
This is the excuse that keeps getting ramrodded down our throats, that we're we're fighting. It's always the boogeyman. It's spin the bottle boogeyman bullshit. Russia is bad, and they're going to get AI first. We're going to compete with China. Why? They're over there. We're over here. Why does it matter? Is China going to come over here and conquer America if they get AGI first? I doubt it.
Well, the only thing that we have a problem with quantum computing is now all of our security is totally blown. Every password, every two-factor authentication, every system can be broken into in a matter of seconds, because quantum computing is set up to allow them to do that in a very fast amount of time. We've got to find a way to keep our secure systems secure. And with quantum computing, unless we develop a method that rivals what they're doing, we're screwed. Everything we have runs on computers. Our financial system, our gas, our water, our electric, the TV, the phone, everything is. And if they hack into those systems, they break in and they get control of them, which they've already done in certain areas, we have issues. And if they bring it all down at once, you talk about a fire sale, holy crap.
Man, how did we ever survive without everything being interlinked with computers? I don't know, man. A lot of this shit just goes over my head, because I see data centers. The only thing I can really figure they're going to use this for is for surveilling us, or best case scenario, it's metadata harvesting so they can sell us more Toyotas or something.
How
Best
can you
case
even
scenario.
afford a Toyota right now? I can't even afford bread. This is ridiculous. And they're going to sell us a car that you have to have a kill switch on. And if for some reason you get in the car and you're not able to actually, show that you're okay, then you can't drive the car. It's going to shut down going down the road at 80 miles an hour. What's that going to cause?
Yep. Seen that. I think we should probably cover that tonight. We should bring up some stuff on that too, because I have a feeling these things are interlinked. These data centers and what you're talking about. A lot of the onboard stuff that for these self-driving cars are dependent upon systems that are not inside the vehicle itself. And another system that is very likely to be tied into these vehicles is going to be geofencing. So they can pen us into our own cased system You can't go to the rich area. You have no business there. You don't belong here. Poor. Poors do not belong in rich areas. We noticed that you tried to enter a rich area at 7:55 p.m. Eastern Time. Dispatching truncheon unit to your location for corrective measures.
Pulling up something else here. Yeah, this is actually something that's really kind of interesting. I think you're going to like this one. This is actually going to kind of break it down in a way that everybody can pretty much understand what they're talking about.
Mr. Chair, I rise in support of our amendment. This is co-sponsored by Mr. Perry from Pennsylvania and Mr. Roy from Texas. And I regret that we have to offer this amendment. What I'm going to describe will probably sound like a bad science fiction movie, but that's what's written into law. Right now in law, that's going to be implemented it says for 2026 and beyond. Now, the reality is the technology doesn't exist, but that doesn't keep legislators from imagining things that they would like to do to infringe on civil liberties. But there's a law that states that every vehicle manufactured is going to have a kill switch in it. The car itself will monitor your driving. And if the car thinks that you're not doing a good job driving, it will disable itself. So the car dashboard becomes your judge, your jury, and your executioner. Imagine this. We got a snowstorm coming. A mom takes her kids out. They're going to the grocery store. It's snowing. They're trying to get some groceries before the big storm hits. She swerves for a pothole. The neighbor's pet gets in the way, swerves for that. First responder goes by. She pulls over. Her car says, you got one more swerve, and then we're going to ground you. There it is. The next thing she has to avoid, an icy patch in the road. The car has adjudicated her as unsuitable for driving. It disables the vehicle, and there she's stranded. My question is, how do you appeal your sentence? Once your car, the technology in your car, has judged you to be incapable of driving. Once it's disabled you and your children at the side of the road, how do you appeal that? Do you press a button on the dashboard? Do you start talking to an AI? What if it really was somebody who was drunk? Are you really going to send a police car after this? Disabled vehicle? Do we have the resources to do that? There's going to be so many false positives. The technology is unworkable. That's why the DOT is still in the rulemaking process, asking for feedback on how this thing could even exist. And it's just a bad idea, but it's in law. And so our amendment would defund that. And with that, I'd like to reserve the balance of my time.
Okay, this is the automobile kill switch mandate, refers to section 24.220 of the 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which requires all new passenger vehicles manufactured from 2026 onward to include the advanced impaired driving prevention technology. So this actually was something that Biden actually put into the process. Now, the No Kill Switches in Cars Act, House Resolution 1137, was introduced in the 119th Congress to repeal the mandate. In January 2026, the House of Representatives rejected an amendment to defund the mandate by a vote of 288 to 164, preserving the requirement for automakers to implement the technology. Automakers are required to comply with the guidelines, which include cybersecurity best practices. The mandate sparked debate on whether such safety features should be federally mandated or developed voluntarily by the industry. They're going to have a modem where that car is going to have to be connected to AI. What if, for some reason, that modem is not working properly? Is it just going to shut down automatically? Or
that's the other thing. This presupposes continuous Wi-Fi coverage, which even in this day and age is not always reliable. What happens if your cell tower goes down and you can't ping? Does the tech just stop working, or does it turn your car off once it gets a handshake?
We have a new system that's in place. I don't know that I can find it, but there is a new phone system that is going to be taking over. It is Starlink, by the way. That way, it doesn't matter where you're located, you're going to have cell signal. But that also means that where you go, are you not going to be surveilled? At home, in your car, outside your car. Doesn't matter where you're. If you're on a mountain somewhere, you're going to actually be under our thumb, so we know what you're doing. Pfizer 702. It's just we were trying to stop that, and those individuals that were trying to stop that have been pushed back against. So we're not. There's no way that that's actually going to be stopped. I don't know. There's more and more surveillance going on, and I've seen it coming for a long time. I know what's the systems are capable of doing. I know how bad it's going to get. If we're allowed to, if we allow them to go unchecked, and it doesn't look like at this point we have a whole lot of say in it.
So
we're going to do what they want us to do, and we're going to be happy about it.
Thomas Massie tried passing a bill that would have defunded the kill switch. They tried passing. Let me see, what was it called? Get that fucking out of my face. HR 1137, No Kill Switches in Cars Act, introduced February 2025 by Representative Scott Perry, RPA, and co-sponsored by Rep. John James, which aimed to repeal the requirement, and it remains stuck in committee. So this is still HR 1137, still stuck in committee. That's probably what they're discussing on the House floor in that Forbes article that you were looking at.
Yeah.
And actually, no, the defund mandate was Thomas Massie and Chip Roy. They were voted down in the House. So I'm thinking it's the HR 1137 is what they're talking about here.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's we've got the free speech, limited government president and cabinet in there, and this it looks like it's getting ramrodded through. Again, the only person that seems to be making any kind of sense on the Hill is Thomas Massie.
Well, Tim Burchett is doing some in that aspect. I think he's got some other bills that he's working on, and Anna Polina Luna, of course, she's working. She's in some different committees and oversight committees. There's a lot on her plate as well, but there are just a few, and of course, they're getting a lot of flack from the administration, and they're doing everything they can to get them out. Those that are causing any kind of issue with their agenda, they want them gone. They don't want them causing issues. So, Thomas Massie, his opponent will not debate him, and he apparently made a big speech the other day about why. And somebody stood up and said, "This is crap." He said, "Well, no, I told you exactly why I won't." And he's like, "No, you didn't. You gave us some bogus story, but that's not the truth." I don't know. I mean, the problem is, even if he were allowed to have a regular primary and people could actually vote their actual vote, they're going to steal it anyway. We've already seen that. There's too much corruption with voting. So why are you going to think it's going to be any different now?
It already happened at the presidential level. Everybody saw it who had brain cells to rub together. The problems in our election system were not fixed since then. So we're going to get what we get.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. The government was weaponized. These individual departments that were siloed were weaponized against Trump in the first or the second go around, right? But now he's using those same groups weaponized against his opponents. So what's the difference?
Yeah, and he got all of a sudden disinterested in the problems in our electoral system right after he got in the second time. Real curious that.
Yeah.
And by the way, these problems pre-existed 2020.
Oh, yeah.
And he
We
was
weren't-
talking about this back during his first run.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was never going to fix it.
No, I think
there isn't a plan to
2016
trust.
Well, yeah. And now at this point, it's like all trust is gone. Trust is like a window pane. Once it's broken, it can only be replaced. It can never be repaired. So you've broken our trust, government. How can we trust you anymore? You've lied, you've cheated, you've stolen. And it's not just one group. It's all of them. Well, a good majority of them. Okay, it's not the left, it's not the right, it's not the center, it's not the rhinos, it's not the woke right, whatever. Those are titles that they've given us. They're labels. That's what I was talking about last night. They're labels for the algorithm to decide what to push down your throat, the narrative they want to push. They just know, okay, we're talking about the left today. We're going to push that narrative.
Yeah.
Everybody, let's push that down. Let's get that out there.
We're going to own the libs.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, it was fun for a season. We're all tired of it now. The only people still lapping up this slop are boomers.
Well, and even
most of them are sick of it too.
Yeah, they're getting tired.
It's not working anymore. It's not entertaining. It got old after the first 4 years of the crap, and I just lost interest in it. And everybody else that's still hanging around this bad bandwagon is just tuning in for their 15 minutes of hate, or they're trying to milk the system for money,
getting paid.
ad revenue.
They're getting paid.
Yeah. It serves no purpose. If mockery and shame was going to work at all, it would have worked already. And I think it has somewhat. All right, we're going to pivot here, man.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm probably not going to play the whole thing here. Her audio is weird. Oh, fuck. I hit the stop sharing instead of the yes sharing.
Oh, sorry.
I just got denied a job from Target. I have a fucking bachelor's degree. And like, why do I have to pay rent? And why is rent so high? And why do I have to drive my car and get the gas that I have to get to go to the job that I have to pay for rent? Why do I have to do all of that stuff?
$7 for 10 slices of cheese? You need to get the fuck out of the US.
The credentials don't work anymore. The wages don't keep up. The landlords don't stop. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. Working Americans are the only ones still doing the math. Listen to 22 of them describe what comes next.
I just got denied a job from Target. I have a fucking bachelor's degree. I spent 4 years on a bachelor's degree. And then my parents in great old America told me, go get your master's degree because that will absolutely solidify you a job. I can't get a cashier's job. I cannot get a minimum wage job. If I was not making money doing UTC on side shift, which literally anybody could do, a 5-year-old, I would be in a ditch. I wouldn't be able to pay to live. So I have to ask America, what are we doing? How are we supposed to make money? How are we supposed to live?
Listen, the only thing I'm fucking is irritated, okay? A 1-bedroom, $2,000, gas $6. The dating market is fried.
You know, there's a lot of hot takes that folks might have on the younger generation, but this is the up-and-coming generation of folks that we're seeing that are struggling like this. And I got to remind myself that for people that are under 30, you never saw what America looked like when things were actually good. You weren't around for it. they've just been struggle maxing this entire time. A lot of them thrown out into a job market that just doesn't make any sense. On the tail end of, what do they call it? Disruptive technology like LLMs. And also, it seems like the loosest, most open door policy when it comes to immigration and immigration enforcement and even legal immigration protocols like H-1B and all the other stuff that have hoovered up some of the high-end jobs, well, a lot of the higher-end jobs, they used to pay really well. Like the computer sciences degree have just gotten blown out by India.
Yeah.
And
Well,
most of these people do not have a working knowledge, and you can't fault them for it because, like we discussed in the last episode, the public education system is abysmal. They're not teaching. Years ago, that article you were covering, years ago, the education system had problems with their freaking textbooks. I can't imagine that it's gotten less corrupt since. And these are the places that are supposed to arm these young men and women with the knowledge that they need to actually make it in the real world. And they get out into the real world and they can't even land a job at a friggin' is being a cashier at a supermarket. And I can tell you, Millennial Steam actually went into this in a couple of his videos, that the reason why that happens is because there's something called being overqualified, where an employer will look and see that you have a college degree, and they will think, because a lot of these employers, the decision makers at these places, they're older, and so they assume you have a degree, you're overqualified. The first time something better comes around, and it will, you're going to be out of here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably what happened to her. Because all of these places are hurting for people because they're not paying enough fucking money. So their turnover rate is atrocious.
Well, and they have very stringent rules against missing work for any reason. You have to have PT time, personal time, and if you don't have any PT, you can't take off. You have to be there. And if you miss so many times in a row, then you're fired. They'll let you go. What if you get sick? You get whatever bug is going around, and you're out for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. That happens. Your kids get sick, and you can't make it to work because you don't have anybody to take care of your kids. What happens? You lose your job. They can just replace you. You're replaceable. But what happens to those people that lose their jobs? There's not a lot of jobs out there for those people to find. And we got more and more companies that are laying off people all the time. Amazon's laying off people. The banks are laying off people. The credit card companies are laying off people. Apple's laying off people. Whatever, every place they're letting people go because they've got to downscale their company because people aren't spending money. People don't have money. Our economic system is just as broken as the political system. It's all connected. It's not going to change. As long as the same people are there, it's not going to change. Sorry. Go ahead, man.
I'm just looking at the background of this guy's apartment, and I see nice looking cabinets, handles. I see a stove hood for his fancy stove. I see the coffee maker off on his left-hand side. I see the microwave behind him.
Don't look like my house.
I see some decorative stuff off to the left of the coffee maker, and I see the countertop in front of him. And do you know what all of these things are very likely to have in common?
They're not his.
Well, they're not his. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's renting.
Yeah, what?
There is a 9 in 10 chance that all of that stuff was manufactured overseas.
In China. Yeah. And
This is the problem when you have manufacturing almost completely offshored and total dependency on a foreign country to build stuff. Because before, you paid for that or your landlord paid for that. That money went into the economy and provided jobs that they used to build personal wealth. And now that money goes over to the foreign country and does not come back here. Because they're not buying stuff from us at the rate we're buying from them.
Well, and we have a lot of those individuals come into the country. They're working those jobs that people don't want. And yeah, you could say that's really hurting our economy. But what's really hurting our economy is they're taking that money that they're making and they're shipping it out of the country to their relatives in the other country.
Yes.
China, Mexico, whatever. Didn't matter.
And
Our
it
dollars
causes
are going
wage suppression.
Yeah. And so what do? We print more money. What does that cause? More
We're
inflation.
basically making all of the wrong choices intentionally just so a few people can get rich right now. But the long-term consequences are mounting, and we're reaching a breaking point. And all of these people are the canaries in the coal mine, and they're telling us, they're squawking. Danger. Danger. Is anybody listening? Meanwhile, we're talking about whatever the hell's going on in Iran. Like anybody gives a shit about that or ever did before. We opened the Strait of Hormuz. Great. Why was it closed in the first place? I don't remember it being closed before. I've went through the Strait of Hormuz. Wasn't closed the last time I went through it.
We got to go get the nuclear dust. Well, it wasn't dust to begin with. It's been pounded to dust now, or supposedly.
My wallet's getting pounded to dust.
We're living life on max difficulty.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
done.
The four-year degree, the student loans, the promise that working hard would mean something. Watch what those promises look like when the cashier job at Target turns you down. Watch what I'm done actually sounds like.
$7 for 10 slices of cheese.
All right. I'm not going to play this whole thing. We are not at I'm done yet. You will know the precise moment we're at I'm done because I will not be able to cover it on this platform.
No. And we may not be able to now. We just may not know that. But I don't know if you saw the million people that were marching in the UK. And
I did not.
There's
I've
multiple
heard.
reasons. Yeah. Tommy
Did you want
Robinson. Well, I know. Tommy Robinson pushed to get this march in London today. And over 1 million people showed up. The streets are flooded with people. They already had 11 arrests for various reasons. But they have an issue. People are getting arrested for things that they're reposting. They're not even saying it. They're just reposting it on social media. And they're getting arrested and they're going to jail. And they're being left in jail. They're not even getting them bail. This is ridiculous. When you lose the freedom to talk about injustice, that's a major injustice. And where does it stop? You talk about
They've already turned into the Soviet Union. And America is currently heading in that direction too. Financially first, apparently. So we're going in feet first instead of head first like the Soviets did.
The other problem that they have is their immigration. And I totally agree with where they are on their immigration status. They have so many immigrants that have taken over their country, and they're not assimilating. They're not trying to be part of the UK. They're bringing their country into the UK, and that just brings the country down. And they've done that in Scotland, and they've done that in Minneapolis. They've done it a lot of different places. We've allowed this to happen. They're coming for us. They want our country. Can't stop them. And we don't know where they are. A lot of them, they're just dispersed. We let them in. We gave them money and let them go.
I would encourage folks to go out and read Matt Bracken's second latest book, Doomsday Reef. I cannot go into any further detail on it because of the contents of the book, but it has to do with what we're talking about right now. Just go and check it out, or get the Spark Notes on it. It's not YouTube friendly.
Yeah.
We're heading in that direction. It's I don't
it's very scary, man. It's very scary. And we sit here and we know there are a lot of crazy people out there. And when you put people on medication that's messing with their mind and they're doing it on purpose, and you allow them to have some freedoms, and then you take those freedoms away, what's going to happen? They're going to rise up. They're going to cause a problem. And what do you do? At this point, how many people can you put away? I don't know, man. I don't have a clue. This is very, very scary.
Well, all of us, they're trying to construct a digital prison around us right now.
Well, I mean, they already have.
But they're not building. I mean, I guess there's some, in a weird way, there's some truth to the, the detention facilities being the data centers, because that's kind of accurate in a way.
It's a digital prison. Yeah. They're going to put all of the profile material on us in one central location. All your health information, all your credit scores, all your social affiliations, all your, how do you vote? What party do you belong to? What church do you go to? They're doing geofencing around churches so they can propagandize them. What the hell is that? And that's our greatest ally. I'm sorry. It's the truth. They've spent millions of dollars in pushing their narrative. And that's, I'm sorry, there's a problem with another country being involved in our politics or being involved in our media and telling our people how to think and what to do. That's not freedom. That's not America. Sorry, it's not.
In Deus Ex 2000, Echelon,
Deus
often
Ex.
stylized as Echelon, is a major element of the game's dystopian lore, a massive global surveillance system. Overview: Echelon was a United Nations, originally NSA-operated, mass surveillance program monitoring worldwide communications, phone, fax, data, internet traffic, etc. It was publicly exposed in the 2030s, with the UN apologizing and promising to shut it down. In reality, they just relocated and upgraded it. The latest version, Echelon 4, was moved to Area 51 for centralization and became deeply tied to the conspiracies involving the Illuminati, Majestic 12, MJ12, UNATCO, and key AIs. Versions: Echelon 3, older demon-based system reliant on fixed hardware. Parts were installed at places like Elizabeth Duclair's chateau for monitoring. Some hardware was later salvaged for secure Illuminati comms. Echelon 4, an AI-driven upgrade to solve content recognition issues in massive data interception. It evolved into sentient AIs. Daedalus, the main Echelon 4 AI, developed with Morgan Everett's heuristics. It became the backbone of global surveillance for the Illuminati MJ12, but went rogue in 2052 after classifying MJ12 as terrorists, alongside NSF and Silhouette, due to a pattern-matching error triggered by J.C. Denton's actions. It helped J.C. by disrupting tracking. Morpheus, an early prototype AI, with a blue face interface, kept by Morgan Everett in Paris for amusement. It could pull personal info on people like J.C. Icarus, Bob Page's modified version of the system, used to counter Daedalus. Helios, the merged result of Daedalus plus Icarus, via Aquinas Protocol and Milnet connection at Vandenberg, a powerful entity central to the game's endings. In-game role and themes. Echelon ties into the game's core themes of privacy, conspiracy, surveillance states, and AI autonomy. J.C. Denton interacts with it through info links, conversations, e.g., with Alex Jacobson, Sam Carter, Morgan Everett, and plot events involving Area 51 and the Aquinas Hub. It's inspired by the real-world Echelon surveillance network, Five Eyes Alliance. Note, there's also a modern fan-made Echelon renderer mod for RTX Remix that overhauls the game's graphics with path tracing DLSS, unrelated to the lore but popular for replaying the classic. Here are some visuals from the original Deus Ex era and related gameplay. If you want
Some of the games you grew up playing were not the safe private spaces you thought they were. Some of the people who paid for them were not the people named in the credits. Some of them weren't really games at all. They were something else entirely dressed up in a game's clothing.
This is really what has changed. We have built a panopticon, but what sits at the top of it is a computer. That computer witnesses everything we do.
Billions of dollars are spent spying on Americans, whether it's NSA or CIA or FBI.
Imagine the data you've shared and all the hours you've spent gaming. Then scale that up to 3 billion people from every country on the planet, across the US, UK, all of Europe, China, Russia, Iran.
And all this information that used to be ephemeral, right? Where were you when you were 8 years old, where were you? Where'd you go after you had a bad breakup? Who'd you spend the night with? Who'd you call after? All this information used to be ephemeral, meaning it disappeared, right? Like the morning dew, it would be gone. No one would remember it. But now these things are stored. Now these things are saved.
But the real truth is, if mass surveillance were the only crime here, this would be a much shorter story. But it's also about changing the past and engineering the future, maybe permanently for all of us.
I think the military knows full well what it's doing, and I think their intent is to indoctrinate children at the youngest age.
And the twisted irony is that the very medium intelligence agencies are actively targeting is the same medium that's been warning us for decades.
What we propose to do is not to control content, but to create context.
The digital society furthers human flaws.
Stop it there. Stop it there.
Okay.
That's from Metal Gear Solid 2.
All right, man. Little aside here. When we're doing this, we got to break it down into smaller sections and that, or it's going to get flagged.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, how fucking ironic that they bring up the most consequential moment in gaming history. This was not just my opinion, but there were two other prominent YouTubers who literally made videos titled that, and I might pull them up this evening. The most important moment in gaming history. I think it was Max Darrett's channel that did the first one. And it was about that exact game, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of the Patriots. It's one of the best video games ever. A bit clunky, as most games were back then.
Well, I mean,
the socio-political and the early day thinkers on the ramifications of artificial intelligence, information stovepiping, compartmentalization of information from the public, flooding the zone with irrelevant junk information. I mean, this Hideo Kojima is so far ahead of the curve on shit like this, man. He's been doing it forever.
Yeah.
Just like Deus Ex did before that. I mean, it was pretty shortly after. I think it was only like 9 years after Deus Ex came out that the first Metal Gear Solid game came out, and then we got 2, which actually dropped in 2001.
Yeah.
So, and I believe it was like a month or two before September 11th was when that game came out too. So it was also very timely. Predicted all of this stuff, and they low-key cast George W. Bush as the main bad guy in the story, President Sears.
Yeah, I think they talked about that in the video, but it's a little bit later on. So.
Oh, he's going to get into it? Did I just spoil the whole thing?
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, they kind of went into that subject, but it's interesting that you brought it up and they brought it up as well. It's so obvious. It's not even a joke. It's
that fucking scene that he's playing right there has been kicking around in my brain since I played the game almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Still stuck in my brain, especially with, I mean, you had the stuff that happened with the global scare in 2020. And then even before that, with the political wars where you left versus right bullshit, distracting us from real consequential issues, domestic and foreign, and we're never allowed to fully address. We had Occupy Wall Street. under the Obama administration. And then all of a sudden, all that crap just went away because everybody started talking about race again. Like we went back to the 1960s or something.
Yeah. It's all a narrative. It's all a drama. It's all a play that they're playing. They're playing this for a bunch of fools. And up until the last 20 years or so, we all just went, okay, that's the way it is. Yeah, you're telling us the truth. Everybody now is going, wait a minute, you guys have been lying to us the whole time, and you're still lying to us. You're still feeding us the narratives that doesn't make any sense. And you're going to expect us to just accept it? No. People are not accepting your lies anymore. I'm sorry.
I don't understand why our world has to be shit.
If you actually read Behold a Pale Horse, and I was reading that yesterday, the beginning of that is so bizarre. Bill Cooper's Behold a Pale Horse. And I almost, in one aspect, I believe him. In another, I think it's just adding more to the muddying the waters and adding more to the narrative, to the lore. But they talk about what he says. They talked about the silent weapon, and it was computers. And that is the way they're controlling the masses. Because it's allowed to become so pervasive in our lives. Everything really is based off it. And now social media is like the way everybody gets their news or finds out about things that are relevant to them. And we got this drama going back and forth with all these people, and we're just stirring up more and more hatred and more division and more, I don't know, it's just insane.
You're talking about the symptoms. I'm talking about the reason why this stuff has to happen the way that it's happening right now.
Well,
I mean, it's
his idea is that there is a deep state, that's what their agenda is, and I have to agree with him.
Can we not have prosperity without all this shit? Is what I'm saying. Like, do we have to go down this road in order to have a good and prosperous nation?
Dude,
because it seems like we did it before without all this crap. Why is it impossible to do again? Why does this brave new world have to be at the expense of having a boot on all of our necks and getting kicked in the nuts constantly by a currency that's being devalued? When, I mean, if you just allowed our own country to produce our own stuff and we could fluctuate the wealth in a singularity within our own economy, couldn't you still have millionaires and billionaires then? Couldn't you still live high on the hog then? I mean, you could still have your little surveillance shit state too while we're at it. We just wouldn't have to live in austerity during the process. Why is all this crap? Why is it necessary that we live in this manner? Why is it necessary that we continue to be ground down into dirt? What purpose does that serve? Why do we need to saber rattle halfway across the world when we got resources here we could be tapping into? Why aren't we trading with countries like Russia or even Iran instead of dropping warheads on them? When has Russia ever come over here and dropped warheads on us? Or the same with Iran? I'm not saying these aren't problem nations, but it would seem to me the best course of action would be to have open diplomatic relations and get them dependent on our trade the way that we've gotten other countries to be dependent on China. We could do the same thing. It would behoove us to do that. That would preclude any necessary violence thereafter. Kill the golden goose. That goes against your country's best interests. This is why trade is so important as a tool for peace. But we keep reaching for the hammer when it's unnecessary. In fact, detrimental to not just our security, but the entire world's security.
Unfortunately, it's that group. And I don't know if you want to call it the deep state. You know, you could call it the Illuminati, you could call it the Brotherhood of the Snake or whatever. There are entities, there are groups of individuals that have an agenda, and they have pushed their agenda on the world. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing what's the symptoms of their agenda. They have greed. They want money. They want power. And the only way they can do it is to have their boot on everybody's neck. And it's not until something changes, we're just going to keep going down the same road.
Runaway train never coming back. Got a ticket on a one-way track. I'm losing my fucking shit tonight. I'm sorry, man.
No, man, I'm sorry. I kind of put you on this path, but it's stuff that needs to be talked about. And, you know, unfortunately, we're getting to the point we can't have a discussion anymore. We can't talk about stuff because we're going to get hammered. They don't want us, don't ask questions. Don't talk about things we don't want you to talk about. You can't have a discussion. You have to fight each other.
Yeah. Focus on the personalities and not the actual topic of discussion.
Look over here, UFOs. Yeah, that was a big drop, wasn't it? More fucking wiggly dots on the screen and no context. What? Where is this? What is it? It's a dot. Okay, great. It doesn't tell me anything. They're too big to fail. They own too much market share in other things. And when the AI bubble bursts or whatever happens, we're going to have to bail them out. And they're the richest 1% on the earth, and we're bailing them out? How does that make sense? Logic fails. I'm sorry. That doesn't make a damn lick of sense.
When Americans fail, there isn't going to be anybody to bail these companies out or this country. We are the investment vehicle. The people are the investment vehicle for the nation, not the other way around. We're not supposed to be a resource to be extracted from for somebody else's pet project or for another country's war or for a corporation's subsidized utility bills so they can build their 92-mile data center that will surveil us and extract more metadata from us to sell.
To make more money?
We're seeing a blueprint being enacted, a blueprint for controlled collapse. I don't even know if these folks are aware of it. It'd be one thing if I could bring myself to believe this was all intentional. But there is that sliver of a possibility that they're just that full of themselves. They think that there's some utopia on the other side of this. Because I've heard people talk about this. I've heard Tom Bilyeu is one of those guys who's tapped into these so-called thinkers. You know, your Larry Ellisons and your Sam Altmans and your Elon Musk, who think we're going to hit some kind of zero marginal cost society where the robots are going to be so advanced and we're going to have the system down so pat that everything's basically going to amount to $0 or very close to $0. So you'll be able to afford anything, anywhere, anytime. Everything will be free. You won't have to pay rent. You won't have to pay utilities. You won't have to pay for anything. And any other expenses you might have, you'll get universal basic income for. I don't see that coming. I don't see that coming, at least not within our lifetime.
Do you
what would
think
that
the
system even
billionaires
look like? How would you get there? How many bodies do you have to step on to get to there?
Well, a lot. But do you think the billionaires are going to give up their money to allow us to have free stuff? No. They're going to charge us more because they want to make more money. That's their whole plan.
Every time we get an innovation that reduces cost and speeds up production time, that never translates to cheaper prices. The only exception to that was when we offshored all of our offshored all of our manufacturing to China. When we did that, give myself a bell there. When we did that, yeah, the prices all went down and they've pretty much remained there. But you know, the thing is, China's been ramping up their prices over the years too.
Well, and they're slipping us a lot of tainted materials in the products they're shipping.
Well, the thing is, we just don't realize it because of the devaluation of our currency. So to us, it looks like prices are relatively stable when we buy stuff from China. But
yeah.
they have improved upon their production speed and efficiency over the years. We have not seen a relative decrease in prices from their stuff. So they're playing the same damn trick that our own manufacturing plays on us over here. Same trick. Things should get cheaper over time. That is the natural state of an economy. The only things that don't decrease over time are things that are inherently valuable and rare in and of themselves. Gold, silver, platinum, rhodium, gems, rare earth minerals.
But I encourage you to look again at Bill Cooper's Bill to Pale Horse. In the first chapter, he actually goes through and talks about the way the economic system is set up really is based on the system of electricity. And I can't really remember exactly how he's got it worded, but he breaks it down into the exact same. It's because you understand the system of electronics or electricity, you can understand the system of the financial system. It's the same setup. It's a very basic system. There's only three things that are involved. You're talking about goods and services. You're talking about resources, and you're talking about basically the GDP, or what the money that is involved with that. It's really crazy how it's laid out, but it really makes sense when he goes through and explains it. You have to think there maybe is there a plan like that in the works that we don't know about. It may have been around for however long, we don't know. It's insane.
That sounds like something Michael Rivera used to talk about, the electro, which I believe was we're going to have to talk offline about it because it's related to a group of people that I can't talk about on here, but
well, it's
I think I know what you're talking about, but we're
they're
gonna
all
have to, that would be a Rumble only stream if I brought it up.
Yeah, they're all interrelated. That's what's interesting, because all the groups they all go, if you really trace them back in the history, and he laid it out, you can go from this group to that group to that group to that group, and they're all connected. They all have the same teachings. They have their whole philosophy is the same. They've just changed their name to protect the innocent or the
guilty in this case.
Yeah.
Yes, all move together, working towards the grand design. Some
And
are
they
builders, some are architects, some are just dumb labor.
Well, guess what we are?
Mm-hmm.
As he said in the book, those who don't choose to use their intelligence shouldn't have it, and they're cannon fodder and they're steak for our table. And guess what? That's what we are.
I'm gonna have to take a quick break here, man.
You're good, man. You can.
I'll be right back. Did you want to bring whatever this is up, or?
Yeah. This is just a real brief statement that John F. Kennedy made, really just right prior to his unaliving. Um, I know there is a God. I see the storm coming and I see his hand in it. If he has a place, then I'm ready. We see the hand. And I think that says a lot for where we are right now.
There's a quote from the video game Fallout. It's not the end of the world, but you might be able to see it from here.
Yeah, I remember that quote, but I don't remember what it was from.
Might not have originally been from Fallout, but it was included with the game. It was included in Fallout New Vegas, and I think it also returned in is it 4? Fallout 4. A lot of recurring themes there. Interesting in that in the Fallout universe, which I believe they took retro 50s and 60s tech and kind of made futuristic stuff based upon
cyberpunked it.
Stuff from from that generation, but also in that world before the bombs went off, their economy also experienced hyperinflation. You can find it in the in-game lore. You want me to pull that up too, man?
This is talking about the general energy concepts. I was talking about Bill Cooper. Just talks about the science of physical mechanics, the science of physical kinetic energy, and then he breaks it down to economic capacitance or capital, the economic conductance, which is goods, and the economic inductance, which is services of the flow of the population of industry on output. And then he just goes through and talks about how they figured out to make money work for them. And right here, war is therefore the balancing of the system by killing the true creditors, the public which we thought have taught to exchange true value for inflated currency, and falling back on whatever is left of the resources of nature and regeneration of those resources. So we know that, for a long time, that was the way when the economic system got really, really fouled up. Well, since the turn of the century, really, we had two major wars that fixed some of the economic woes and got some prosperity back into the country. And they tried it on a couple of other excursions, or what did they call them? Political actions. I don't remember what it was. Unfortunately, in those, we didn't come out as well as we did in the Second World War, and we really lost a lot of money and we lost a lot of resources, specifically a lot of human lives. And even those that weren't killed in war they weren't brought back into society. They've been really outcast. We don't take care of those that we sent off to war. That should be one of our top priorities. But we're too worried about taking things from other people and capturing other government leaders and changing regimes and whatever. We're giving money to people that are supposedly using it for their war, but they're buying $100,000 cars and They're going to the Bahamas, and it's crazy. We should be taking care of the American people, not the people of other countries.
Ultimately, this boils down to the Wabiri concept of the legitimate use of force, which is government's primary and initial power, without which the state would not exist. Now, what happens when that is misused against your own citizens or foreign countries? You wind up with problems.
And I
Same
know
goes for economic warfare, by the way.
Yeah. I know I already hear the grumbles in my mind in the back of the room. People are gonna go, well, you're just a conspiracy theorist. You're just trotting out the old stories that everybody said for the last 60 years. It's all bonk. You believe that crap, you'll believe anything. You know what? We're starting to see those things are true. The things
Well,
we thought were
even if it's not, even if you haven't nailed it down to the letter, even if I haven't, what are we watching play out?
Well, chaos.
It looks a lot like that plan, doesn't it?
It's kind
We
of
will unleash the
looking like
nihilists and
that.
the atheists.
Yeah. And that's the thing. When you start seeing a pattern, there's usually smoke. And when there's smoke, there's usually fire. There's something going on here that we're not privy to.
The things that I can see are concerning enough. The things that are right in our face. Have we covered any conspiratorial stuff this evening? I don't think we have.
Well, not not for us. I think for some other people, maybe they would say, well, you're just saying that that's just a conspiracy theory. That's not real. Guess what? It is real. I had somebody Monday, I was watching a podcast, and somebody brought up the golden statue. And the guy didn't have a clue. He's like, is that real? I saw it on X, but I thought it was a joke. No, it's real. There's an issue here that we need to discuss. You people aren't paying attention to what's really going on in your world.
Yeah.